All right. So imagine
Hmm.
your life at peak impact,
Okay.
and I want you to draw that impact and what it means to you. The only rule is you can't use words, but draw it however you imagine visually that impact.
That's a fun. That's a fun challenge. All right. Let me try to do something here. All right. Do I
All right.
explain something as well?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So my idea is that I've been programming since I was the age of like 13. And after doing a lot of different things like e-commerce, crypto, mobile app, game development, I realized that programming and software development is the thing that I love most. And my impact that I want to make is software developers and software teams all over the world are feeling like, hey, this guy made something that is helping me write better code, ship faster, be more productive, and write nice and amazing software.
I like it. So like it's mostly impacting software developers. You're like focused on helping them.
Yeah. Yeah, they are my people, they are my crowd. I can talk about software all day. I love
Uh-huh.
programming. That's where I feel the most natural. So that's the impact I want to do. I want more software in the world and I want to be the one who's helping people achieve that.
And I like that you drew different devices. Like
Yeah, exactly. It
each
can
one
be
had
individuals, teams,
yeah.
students, all of them.
I like it. And then there was a sad face guy. Who was that?
No, there's no sadness, guy. Everyone is happy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, everyone was happy. All right, all
yeah,
right.
everyone is happy.
All
Yeah.
right.
All
All right,
right.
I love it. So like, okay, imagine you're there. You
Mhm.
are impacting. You already have like your article that blew up.
Oh, yeah.
uh it was impactful. Like I feel like a lot of people were like, hell yeah, and like they're like paying attention. So you're almost there, but let's say you're doing it now at the scale you're imagining, right?
Mhm, mhm.
What are the best opportunities that can come knocking at your door? Like
After I'm already there, what further opportunities I can get, or
not further, the best opportunity, like the most awesome opportunity you can think of.
to get there, or once I'm there, like
Once you're
even.
there, you're at peak impact.
Oh wow, okay, that's a difficult question. Because in one obvious answer is that this is the company has a certain valuation and everything,
Mhm.
but honestly, I don't like that answer. I think the most impact that could be is that what I'm working on evolves into something ubiquitous. It's on many devices. It's being used to teach software development. It's being used by professionals to
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it's been used so commonly in the professional world that it's obvious that it's something like VS Code or Cursor, everyone is using it. So the opportunity for that would be amazing partnerships with all the established companies in the world. It's part of Windows, it's part of Android, it's part of macOS, and all of the software stack is integrated.
And like, can you like visualize that? What would that look like
Hmm.
specifically?
Is that going to be another drawing or?
No, no, there's no more drawing until then.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the visualization would be like a lot of open source software. It powers. It's there in all of the Macs. It's there in all like VS Code itself. It's open source, and it's just pretty much on every programmer's laptop. It's being used in each and every
You're
school to
there.
teach programming.
I'm asking you to think beyond that. It's there.
Okay.
What is like a phone call that would excite the hell out of me? Like, hell yeah, I want to work on this collaboration, or someone is what are you like after you reach this ubiquitousness, right? You're like, hell yeah,
Uh-huh.
everybody's using it. All the teams, Fortune 500 companies, everybody's using Gigamine, right?
I see.
At
Yeah.
at some capacity. What is the next big opportunity after that?
Mhm. Okay.
That
Can you
would
help me
excite you.
understand?
Like it doesn't even have to be linear. It's just like what would be just awesome, you know?
Can you give me some examples of that, maybe? What have you heard in the
Yeah,
past?
like for example, for me, the example I like a lot is Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Mhm.
He's
Mhm.
built Facebook, it's amazing, whatever. And now he has the pleasure of working with like the best fashion designers in the world, right?
Mhm.
To look at his like glasses thing, but he's also like learning how to dress better and like
Mhm.
just he's like a child exploring this fashion world, right?
I see.
And it's he wouldn't have had that if he hasn't built this kind of amazing technology
Mhm.
company that is, exploring that area, right?
Uh-huh.
And for me, that's like a good example. Like another example is like, like myself, like I'd love to work with like maybe like amazing music producers or like amazing writers, right? Just
I see.
collaborate and be in the same team with them and see how they think and be able to share, my knowledge and take some of theirs and like that would be
Okay.
extremely exciting, right?
I see. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. So after I'm there with my software and technology and business journey, I think the next steps for me would be like, I think I have a personal philosophy towards health, fitness, and
Mhm,
also how you should be treating people who are different than you in like a compassionate and understanding way. I have a personal philosophy around that. And I think sort of what Peter Levels is also doing, he teaches so much
mhm,
founders about healthy eating and healthy diet.
mhm,
So I think that would be the big next unlock for me on how to explain my personal philosophy, especially around compassion and understanding, and also fitness and health. Like I think right now in the world, there's a lot of negative influence, especially for men with misogynistic figures like, yeah, you know the names, a
mhm.
lot of negative influence and hatred towards women or towards people who are different than you. And I want to try to unify and solve that. And
Interesting. Why is that meaningful to you? Like, can you tell us some stories or something? Like, why
yeah,
is that
okay.
a meaningful thing for you?
Yeah, I think what I have realized is that hatred or having some sort of enemy or something to look against is a very core part of being a human being. Like every
Mhm,
human being has some sort of stereotypes and hatred. But recently, I think that there is a trend that there are some influential figures who channel that hatred in certain directions and create a lot of divide in the world. And they are personally profiting off of that hatred, but their followers do not realize it. So I think if we are stopping hatred and working in a compassionate way, we will be able to achieve a lot of things, which could mean like I don't know, space exploration, utilizing our the resources in on our planet like
mhm.
solar energy or wind energy more effectively, focusing on education and having everybody having a good access to food and health. And I think whys are important. Yeah, each and every human being should have a nice right to a healthy life. I was growing up in India. I used to see so much poverty, like right outside of my home every day when I used to go for work. There's a government hospital that used to do treatments for free at like 6 to 9 a.m. And in that government hospital, would literally be hundreds of poor people with their entire families just sitting on
Mhm,
footpaths, waiting in line to get some free medical treatment and access. And
mhm.
this inequality is, I think, it's holding us back as a species, and there needs to be something that solves that inequality. And the first step to that is empathy and compassion.
I like it. So, and just to, how do you pronounce your name? Namanyay, like that?
Yeah, no, 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 yeah,
Hell yeah, Namanyay. Hell yeah. All right. So it's kind of like personal to you. It's like you've seen kind of this like poverty and inequity and stereotypes,
yeah,
negative stereotypes against Indians, and
exactly.
you're like, nah, bro, this can't be part of this modern world. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
there needs to be this compassion, and like I like that you use the word compassion. Like, what does compassion mean to you?
Compassion for me, I would say, is that even if someone is different to you or has some differing opinions to you, whether it be their sexuality or political ideology, as long as it's not hurting anybody, why would why would I care what someone else is doing if it's not hurting anyone? So that's what. Why would I
That's
have a
indifference, right? That's indifference more than it is compassion.
Okay, maybe I'll change that. Why would I try and stop anybody from being happy in their own way, like a lot of people do, like they're trying to enforce their beliefs on others? That should not be the case. It should be an accepting because it makes the world more interesting. You should accept. all of these use, if it's making someone happy, if it's increasing the net happiness of the world,
Mhm.
then yeah, you should be feeling happy about that rather than trying to stop it.
I'm still gonna push back just a little bit, just to
Yeah,
make it a
yeah,
little more spicy. But
yeah,
what if the pushback is because they think that that ideology is not net positive, it's net negative, and that someone has to stand up or something?
yeah. That's a good point, and that's a good nuance as well. I think there needs
Yeah.
to be a distinction on if that ideology is hurting anyone else. Like for example, in America currently, there's a lot of issues around sexuality or like women reproductive rights,
Mhm,
and I don't even understand why that's a thing. If someone else wants is feeling happier in a
mhm,
different type of relationship, or if a woman wants more control over like her
mhm,
reproductive health, then that should be accepted and even celebrated rather than being looked as like hatred.
mhm. So if it's like an individual choice, you should be allowed to make that choice.
Exactly.
Just
As long as that choice is not hurting anyone, you can't say mean things or bad things about anyone
mhm,
or hurt them physically. But yeah, there should be individual choice and freedom.
I love it. Alright, what is your proudest moment?
Hmm. I think I'll have to go back into my childhood for the proudest moment, and the answer to that is because I always I always have valued education and hard work and intelligence. And for the longest period of time, until I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, I felt that um, it wasn't uh, it wasn't being recognized on Urdu. But
Mm,
then I started participating in international and school level competitions in computer science and software. And one of the earliest competitions I won was like the Google open source competition. For
okay.
that, they invited my entire family out and flew them to San Francisco. And
Mhm.
that's the moment I realized, okay, I'm onto something. I have a certain skill set or worldview
Yeah,
that people recognize and people value. And that's where it clicked for me. Okay, this can be a thing for me. So that's my inflection point and my proudest moment.
that's amazing. I love that. Do you have a second proudest moment?
Hmm. Second proudest moment is after I was involved and more involved and started getting into this, I was part of some like technology communities and just teaching each other programming and learning about those things. And over there, after I was there for maybe a year or two, I started noticing that other people are looking at me as a source of knowledge, leadership, and inspiration. And that felt very powerful. It felt like um, yeah, that I'm causing a real impact or a change in thinking of someone else, and because of that, they are trusting me. They are trusting my thinking ability. They're trusting my vision and trusting my leadership. So that trust from the people, my friends, and my community, that felt very proud as well.
I like it. And what's your story?
How long ago do I start?
Whatever your story is,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think y- yeah, from what the earliest thing I can remember, my mom, she used to read to me a lot. She used to read a lot of different books, whatever any fiction or her stories that she was reading herself, she would read those out to me. And so I always had a very strong interest towards book. I always felt that there's this magical thing that I could learn about the entire world for, and
Mhm,
I just like learning a lot, and that kept evolving. And I did well in academics. That kept evolving when I found out that the computer helps and the internet helps me connect to the entire world again. That's
mhm,
something I immediately felt in love with. I felt like I
mhm,
had access to the entire world's knowledge, and that evolved into combined with my natural curiosity, with my love for this skill set. I just kept going into it.
mhm,
I started learning computer science. I participated in competitions like the Google one and some
mhm,
local high school competitions. I started freelancing online to earn some money because back in India, my family
mhm,
didn't have all that much.
mhm,
And it became my passion, my love, and my business. And so I founded my own company because I always felt like if I'm working for someone else, I'm following their vision. Instead, I
mhm.
wanted to work on my own unique vision. So I started my own company, my agency, and did a bunch of projects. And
Mhm.
right now, where I'm at is I'm finally taking all of that experience, putting it into one
Yeah.
product idea that I feel that I can scale and running it exactly as how I envision on my dreams.
Okay, so pitch the product. What is the product? What is the offer?
Yeah, Gigamine, as soon as AI was released, like around 2 years ago, I was using it in a bunch of my client projects. But at that time, Cursor and the AI was not able to understand the entire code base properly. And I realized that because it does not have sufficient context about how a large code base operates, what are the different parts, how are they interconnected.
Mhm,
So I built an extension that analyzes your code base, summarizes it with our own algorithm that I developed, and
mhm,
it creates a knowledge map of all the interconnected pieces, important files and functions, and adds
mhm,
it to an AI's context window. So it hallucinates less, it makes less mistakes, and is more aware of the problem. And I what I learned in this startup journey is that I have tried a lot of different ideas as well previously. A lot of them didn't work out. But
mhm,
what I realized is if you are solving a hair on fire pain point for someone, that is something that people want to do. So this is
mhm,
the first hair on fire pain point that I'm solving.
mhm,
I solved that for a lot of indie developers who are a large majority of my customers. And now
mhm.
my second step is going to be finding out here on fire problems for teams in San Francisco and keep iterating and building on top of the existing Giga product, keep solving those problems and make everyone faster in software with it.
I love it. And how did you get your first sale?
So in the start, like when I was in the ideation phase, I had a bunch of different ideas. And from watching a lot of IC videos, I realized that ultimately it's what the customer feedback and the customer pain point is what matters. So I quickly realized that I had to talk to real people. Can't be that, hey, I thought of this thing and now I'll make it. And as soon as I make it, I
Mhm,
get, 100 customers, it'll go viral. That never happens.
mhm.
I learned that the hard way. And I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So I posted about this in a built-in public way, but on Reddit because
Mhm,
Twitter didn't work well for me. So I posted about it on Reddit, and I
mhm,
told people, hey, just fill out this survey and help me understand what your problems are, and I'll give you access for free. So after
mhm.
I did that, free access and
Nice.
beta phase with 50 people, and I built a stable product that was solving a problem. I started getting some testimonials from those free users here that I love this product, it's helping me work faster. Then I switched to a paid plan and continued doing a build it public style thing on Reddit. Some of those people said, "Hey, your product looks interesting. I want access." I sent them a payment link, and yeah, people started paying, and I was like, "Fuck, it works! It
Mhm.
works! People
I
like it.
love it.
It's a big problem." So Reddit
And
was
did any of those beta customers convert? Like how many converted?
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah. I would say not too many of them. Maybe I've had around 50 to 100 beta testers, and maybe 10 or 15 of them ended up converting. But also, I gave them like free access, free grandfathered
Mhm.
access because they helped me with their feedback. So I didn't
I
want
like
to
it.
start charging money for something that they are already given for free.
But 10 to 15 are like active users to this day. Like, is that
Yeah,
what you mean?
exactly. So they're helping me with feedback still. Yeah,
Okay, that's awesome.
yeah.
Um, so if you're gonna like identify like who exactly are you serving, what would that profile be?
Sorry, who is?
Who are you serving?
Okay. So I am serving people who are working in larger code bases. So it is not the vibe coders or indie developers or not the people who are learning programming right now. Most of my customers have are working on products that have been around for at least 2 or 3 years in established startups. And at that scale, the AI tools, they basically completely start to fail and make so many mistakes that it gets really frustrating. So a lot of my customers are running agencies where they're doing multiple client projects with legacy products. They are in startups who have code base created over 2 or 3 years. So the code base has become large. The developers have come in and out, and knowledge about the code base has been lost. So to understand such larger code bases or old or complex code bases, that's where Gigamind really shines.
I love it. So it's like whatever agencies who are hired to maintain code or whatever, and then your second target is like startups that are not like just launched or pre-launch. It's like 2 to 3 years. They've been through a couple of coders, maybe.
Exactly.
Uh, they have like a established code base. All right. And when you're thinking of target markets, it's really good to think of extremes.
Hmm.
So the example I like to give is OXO, the
Hmm.
Good Grips company. They
Okay.
make, yeah, they make like the kitchen utensils, and
Okay.
the founder's wife had
Mm.
arthritis,
Mm.
so he made all the kitchen utensils with like bigger grips and like so it's comfortable for people with arthritis. But
Mm.
that extreme kind of solved for everybody else because everybody wants grips that are comfortable and utensils
Mm.
that are easy to hold and all of that.
Uh-huh.
And if you're thinking about your target market, like what are the extreme cases of like the agency and what is the extreme case of the startup? That if
I
you
see.
solve for them, you can kind of hit everybody too.
I see. All right. So for the extreme case of my agency, some of my customers are working on like old .NET, C Sharp code bases that are like 7 or 8 years ago. And because they're like agencies, so they have had so many programmers come in and go out that literally I don't think any single programmer even understands the entire code base. And that is one of the biggest extreme cases, and I still need to keep working on that to really solve that problem for them. But that is one of the biggest extreme code bases. On the startup side of things, I am seeing startups that are like surrounded around payment or financial instruments, or logistics. Basically, things that have a lot of third-party integration, like when you're handling invoices, payment processing, tax laws on tariff laws of all multiple countries in the world, then the business logic just gets so complex that it becomes difficult for anyone to understand, let alone improve it. So I would
Mhm.
say these are the two extreme current customer cases that I have identified.
And how did they inform your like vision, strategy, product roadmap? Like, if you want to take it from the agencies first, like what I heard was you like some agencies are maintaining unpopular languages,
Yeah, yeah,
so being able to understand these not so popular languages and destructure them and organize
yeah,
them in a way that like that is a challenge. That is
yeah.
like how does that inform your strategy?
Yeah, so some of the recent updates that have been product updates that I have done, it is to handle large and larger code bases. And another big update that I did was to allow the user to specify from what scopes or lenses to look at the code base from. So the user can suggest that, okay, give me a different analysis for the entire architecture, give me an analysis for the data model, give me an analysis for where the data flow is going, like what the user does and what the end result is. So these
Mhm.
are the two recent upgrades that I made based on the feedback I had from these large customers. What I'm still trying to work on and what needs more customer communication, which I'm finding a little difficult because a lot of those times those companies they take a lot of time to reply to my emails or they're busy for calls,
Mhm.
and then I'm not able to get one-on-one time to really see and understand the problem. Like if I could go to their office and
Mhm.
help them out there, it would have been better, but they are located all over the world. So that's the challenge I have.
Mhm.
But these are the two recent updates as well. And if I need to unlock the next thing, I need some close one on one to further deeper understand their existing workflows, map them out, and improve.
All right. Uh, Sticking to the like the target customer kind of theme, right?
Mhm.
Um, who are the connoisseurs? Like, who do these people look up to when it comes to picking a product? Like, who, if they use the product right, would give you like instant credibility? Like, everybody's gonna be like, oh, for sure, this is the way.
Like influencers in their field.
Influencers, but more technical influencers, right? Like, so it's not
Mhm.
just somebody who has a lot of reach, but somebody who's extremely respected in their technical skill.
I see. I think I do not yet have a clear answer to that, but what I can tell you is that a lot of these, what I know the answer based on like my experience is that a lot of these people are subscribed to email newsletters like TLDR newsletter and
Mhm,
other industry newsletters. And if my product gets into them, then I got a lot of customers. So some time ago, TLDR newsletter organically picked up my product and featured that
mhm,
in their campaign. And at that day, I got like 50 emails, 20 of them became customers. So
mhm.
that is what I currently know, but I do not have a good answer to who are the other connoisseurs or influencers in this field. I still need to understand that. And I don't
Yeah.
know how.
Like for me, Fireship seems like perfect.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah, Fireship.
Yeah.
I always get confused like Fireship or even like Primeagen. I always get confused. Is their audience like student developers or is it the team developers? So that's something I'm confused about.
I think Fireship is every coder watches Fireship. Like
Got it.
with the Primeagen, it's more people vibing with him, you know?
Hmm.
Whereas
Hmm.
Fireship is almost like news, right? Like, oh, what's new in tech?
Makes
And he
sense.
just breaks it down, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
a good thing.
I like that one. Like for this, if like you can reach out or maybe like sponsor or something.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Fireship is a good one. Who's the
Uh-huh.
easiest market to capture?
Yes, market to get. I think in the market, there first needs to be an ability to pay. And
Mhm,
secondly, they need to be deeply feeling that pain point. So combining these two things, I would say startups have lesser ability to pay because maybe they're thinking too much, hey, that this is my own money and I want to figure this out. So agencies are definitely an easiest to market to customer because they already have contracts with their clients. They're getting a lot
mhm,
of money for expenses and services like that, and they have an attitude of if this thing makes our team even a little more productive, they have an attitude that, in some sense, startups care more deeply about their code base. Agencies, they do not care so much about the code base. Their goal is
mhm.
to give specific results. So, because their goal is to give specific results, anything that helps them get to that point faster, they're willing to pay for that.
So what's the pain point there? Like, what is the pain point for agencies?
Pain point there is when they're using Cursor or Windsurf or any such tool, and they're trying it out on their client's project because the
Mhm,
code base is so large. If they ask, "Hey, write a new function," the
mhm,
AI is not even able to understand the existing services, modules, and architecture. Maybe some similar function already exists, but instead of recognizing that, the AI will just create a new file and write a completely new function. And then it'll be like, okay, now there we've got two similar pieces of code for the same thing. That is one of the bigger problems in these code bases.
So when they start hitting hallucinations more often, they're like, "Oh, damn, we need to find a solution for this."
Yeah, exactly. When they see, okay, now there's so much more code duplication, some of the existing practices or some of the existing patterns are not being used, then that becomes an annoying point. And maybe it's fine when you do it once or twice, but if you're doing it longer term, then the code just becomes an unmaintainable and confusing.
Yeah, yeah, because it's yeah, I'm experiencing that right now because like I started from scratch and now the code base is so big that it is starting to hallucinate. It's not a pain point yet,
Yeah.
but I think once I hit this point where it's like, God damn, like not even Opus 4 is like figuring this out. I need to
Yeah.
do something, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think the frequency, I think if you measure frequency, like, hey, in the last week, how many times has AI hallucinated and like kind of track that?
Uh-huh.
And is it the same pain point kind of for startups? I'm assuming.
Wait, let me actually write down what you were talking about. And that I'm glad and I'm interested that you also started hitting this problem.
Mm,
I think startups is a bit more difficult to enter right now because I think there's two problems around that. One is that if there's usually if the team is consistent and has been with the code base since the very start, then the engineering leaders there, they already have a good idea of how everything works and they enforce best practices. So they feel like, hey, the engineering head already knows everything and they can manage the AI themselves. So they don't need that. But some kind of startups where the developers have been fired and then there were new developers and their team has kept on changing, they lose understanding of the code base. Or in another situation where the startups are working on products like logistics or payment processors,
Mhm.
where logistics are dealing with so many legal laws around tariffs, calculating shipment rates, or they're dealing with laws around tax laws or international payments,
Mhm.
uh, then again, that is such a complicated mess that it is impossible for any single human being to understand. And that's when they rely more on AI.
Okay, so it's like not any startup. It's like with startups, it's almost like an industry specific target
Yeah,
that works better. Like big
yeah,
complex startups are
exactly.
more likely to have this pain and like
E-
get that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Have you thought about acquisitions and stuff like that? Like do acquirers? I know that's a small market, but uh, i- if it's like a big acquirer, right? Maybe I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. It's
So,
maybe not that big of a market, but I think there's a
okay.
use case there because, like,
Uh-huh.
imagine whatever Andreessen Horowitz, right? They're acquiring startups like crazy, and they want to understand the code base.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I see. Okay. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that's an interesting angle. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not a
uh,
big market, but I can see like tech acquirers
mhm.
using this for sure.
Makes
All right.
sense.
Um, so in terms of positioning, right? Like, what are they paying for in this product that doesn't exist in competitors or alternatives or things like that?
Sorry, what are the what?
Like, if you want to put like position this product, like
Mm,
I'm a prospect, and I'm like, oh well, I can talk to Claude and it can summarize my stuff. I can
mhm,
talk to whatever, like there's other tools, there's competitors, there's alternatives to kind of achieve this result, right? Which is
mhm.
compressing a code base into some sort of like more organized
Yeah,
source of truth that you can kind of put into all of these prompts or in cursor rules or whatever.
yeah.
Um, how is yours different? Like, why are they paying you the money and not them?
Yeah, all right. So first, if we are comparing it to something like Cursor, which has a $20 per month, or even Vincent, which has a fixed subscription cost. So I think such products are incentivized to keep the context low because they want the cheapest cost for their AI. If they start doing a lot of context, then their AI cost will increase and they won't be able to make much money out of the $20 per month subscription. And secondly, the workflow that you're talking about, that yeah, I can do that myself using Claude or ChatGPT or O3 or whatever. That is actually what a lot of people already do, and even something that I used to do personally myself before Giga. And where Giga shines there is that first, it's one click, it's a quick setup, and secondly, it automatically recognizes when your code base has changed enough, and again lets you do that just by one click. Hey, now you can regenerate those files. And
Mhm.
this is doing it outside of Cursor. So your API cost or your API inside Cursor is not increasing. You're just getting on the background, you're just getting all of that summarized result. And then you can do it consistently, repeatedly with a good quality result, exactly like you.
So number one is controlling costs.
Yeah.
Is kind
Yeah.
of like, hey, you don't have to use your API
Yeah.
credits or whatever
Yeah.
to crunch your base or whatever and figure out the differences and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You do kind of diffs, you handle
Yeah.
compressions, you
Exactly.
handle all of that.
Exactly.
And the second one is that what was the second one? You said it's consistency?
Okay, second one, I would say is that most of the tools like Cursor and Windsor, they are not designed for large code bases. They are designed for smaller code bases and they want to cut down on the cost. So if you are actually a large code base and you want to put more context into it, then it's not in the best business model for Cursor to allow that because more context mean more cost to them. So these tools are not made for larger code bases. So the first
Mhm.
is that yeah, you're getting a consistent, repeatable result with one click on the background. And the second is that it's different from the existing market and existing tools because the existing tools are for white coders and new coders. There's no specific tool or result for large code bases.
But your thing works with them, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, after talking to people, like I would say 90% of the people use Cursor. And that's just the industry standard right now. So mine, you install it alongside. You're already comfortable with Cursor or VS Code. You can install it in Cursor, in VS Code, in Windsor. And after installing my tool, your existing AI is better, faster, and works more performant in your large code bases.
Mm. All right, so it's the cost control, the consistent, and it's almost like upgrading your
Yeah,
existing AI.
exactly.
Yeah, so that's how, like, that's what they're paying for. Is that I don't want to use my current API stuff to
Yeah,
crunch my code base and do this workflow every time,
yeah,
figure it out, make sure it's consistent. You have a
yeah,
thing that's doing it already. And
exactly.
then the benefit of that additionally is that it makes your current AI stuff smarter.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's a good way to
those
put
two,
it.
yeah, those are the two things. What is the magic trick? So a magic trick is kind of like, have you seen magnific.ai?
No, I have not.
Yeah, go to magnific.ai.com or just magnific.ai.
Oh, yeah, the image before and after.
Yeah, before that, and you see how that one visual, like that one trick,
Yeah,
kind of makes you amazed. You're like, wow, what they did.
yeah.
Like, I need that. What is that magic trick for Giga?
Yeah, I think I'm still figuring that out. People have asked me about like a before and after, but I think I need help with that right now because uh, the before and after it really shines when the code base is complex and you're trying to do multi-file edits. If you're asking a simple question or a simple task, then the normal AI can do that as well. So I'm still trying to figure that out, and I don't have an answer, and I'd appreciate any help on that.
I think it depends on the market, right? Like, definitely
Mm-hmm.
the hallucinations per week kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing
Mm-hmm.
is like, and with benchmarks, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this code base is, I don't know how big code bases are, right? Like I know
Mm-hmm.
per file, but you're saying it's multi-file. So like this is a
Yeah.
whatever 100,000 line code base,
Uh-huh.
you know, head to
Uh-huh.
head, and then you kind of have them do tasks like build Stripe integration with webhooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
and one has Gigamind, one doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and the Giga one works one time. Like you just tell it, hey,
Yeah.
do the Stripe integration, whatever, boom, it does it.
Exactly.
And the other one, it doesn't work, or
Yeah.
something like that. Like I think just benchmarking tasks, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
the tasks that have to kind of coordinate between a lot of things, like webhooks
Yeah.
is the obvious one, right?
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like you want your UI, your server, your webhook, Stripe, and everything to be in sync.
Yeah.
That that's a hard problem for people,
Yeah.
and for AI to solve if you don't know how to prompt it properly, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one. Another one, yeah, is for the agency is like uh, the time it saves.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we time people to do this on 10 projects.
Mm-hmm.
Without Giga it took 6 hours. With Giga it took half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they think, okay, my coders now I save 5 hours of coding time, and that's 5 hours of coding pay, which is I don't know, like $500, thousand
Mm-hmm.
bucks a day.
Yeah.
Um, so that's I think those two are pretty good. But like, just think about like I just want to plant the seed, so that you can start thinking about what is it
Yeah.
before and after. I can tell people that can convince them because that is the speed of persuasion that you need
Yeah.
to convert, fast. Um,
Makes sense.
if you're thinking about quality factors,
Mm-hmm.
like what would a customer judge gigabyte?
Can you give some examples about what does
Yeah,
that mean?
like what are things that are gonna make them say, "Oh, this is good," or "Nah, this sucks."
Hmm. So one of them that I'm realizing is what kind of non-obvious things that the Giga generation will surface, and that's something I still need to improve. So my customers have said things uh, like if they have a certain code convention or code style, like they want their functions written a certain way or their if statements written a certain way. If Giga is able to identify those code conventions and create a rules file about that, that is something they like. Another, this is something that Giga is not currently doing, but I'm working on that. Something that Giga is doing and they like is when it maps out the data flow properly. Like if there is a proper architectural understanding of the system, where the data is coming from, what algorithms are involved, how is that being stored in the data model and in databases. So that is another interesting moment for them. Yeah, okay, that now, wow, Giga
Mhm.
understood my entire code base actually, and I can see how this better context will help.
Okay, so it's like surfacing non-obvious things,
Hmm.
right? Identifying conventions, mapping
Hmm.
data flows,
Yeah,
and this overall sense of this tool understands my code.
yeah, exactly.
Um, is there something else?
Mhm. And on the other hand, it also like it needs to not hallucinate or not make mistakes or not forget any actually important parts. So that has been some of my customers' complaint. For some reason, the important parts of the code base were not recognized by the system. So that's again something I need to fix. And yeah, on the just to recap on the positive sides, one of them is understanding how the existing code architecture and data flow works. But there's also an important factor about understanding the code conventions or code styling, which differ by individual and organizational preferences.
Mhm.
So architecture and conventions, those are two different angles that need to be understood by Giga.
Okay, so architecture, conventions.
Yeah.
Is there anything in like the user experience?
I think I have a good handle on that already, by which the user just has to press one button to do the analysis. And secondly, whenever they need to reanalyze the code base, it automatically gives a pop-up and gives them the option to do that. Maybe something that I can improve is give them more control over how it is analyzed. And right now, that is a bit opaque. Like there is one system prompt that they can edit, but it is not too clear for the user, like in what way they should edit it or why should they
Mhm.
edit it at all.
Okay, so so like opacity, I guess, is like of what's going on and control over that.
Exactly. That is something I need to work on. Yeah.
Okay. What would make them say wow in that? Like, do you think maybe like a conversational onboarding where you
Yeah.
can kind of get more data from them before generating or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and that's something I am thinking about working on. Yeah, it needs to first confirm with them that okay, this is the way that it will be analyzed, and once that's confirmed with them, and maybe at that point the user wants something new or something different, and once that's confirmed with them, then it should do the actual analysis, which is missing right now.
And how does it handle like diffs? Like, is that something that is accurate or
Yeah, yeah, it is able to accurately handle this right now. Yeah, it detects what was recently changed and modifies the analysis by focusing on that.
and is there like snapshots you can make, or how does that work? Like, is it
Hmm.
all the diffs, or can I like just the most recent diff, or can I say whatever? I have version one, and
Hmm.
then I make whatever 100 changes, and then do version two, and then it can take version one, version two, and calculate the diff like that, or
Yeah, so it does not do based on snapshot. It sees the current state of the code base and gives an analysis based on that. So it doesn't matter like if you've got multiple commits in between, it will analyze all of them from the last analysis to the current analysis. So
Okay,
and
so
it
it is kind of snapshotty in
yeah,
that way.
yeah, yeah, in that sense, yeah. But there's
What?
no manual control of that. Yeah,
Okay, that would be cool if you can do that.
yeah,
If you can like save snapshot, like this
yeah,
is and name the
like,
version.
yeah.
That would be cool. All right, what is a 5-star experience using the product?
A five-star experience would be that initially, before using the product, the user is facing issues around AI making mistakes like writing duplicate code or not using existing algorithms and function and instead rewriting things. And once they install Giga and go through the 5 minute setup, after they have set it up, they are feeling happier and less frustrated because such issues are not happening anymore and they are able to move forward confidently.
Okay. What is a 6-star experience?
Hmm. Okay. Do you have any examples for that and the
Uh,
differentiation between five
with
star and six?
your with your product, probably not, but it's just so 5-star experiences is no duplication. It uses
Yeah.
existing functions,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be a current state of your product. But
Mhm.
what is more that you can offer that would make them say this is just 6 stars?
Okay. This is in line with, I think, the next item on the roadmap that I am trying to work on, which is there is one thing to learn all of this from within the code itself. But if I can also add the feature of learning from all of the past pull requests and pull request reviews and seeing and creating an idea of why in pull request reviews certain changes are requested or certain modifications are made. And based on the entire history of the code base and comments by senior engineers, ensure that the AI is aligned with that and is not making any mistakes that have already been covered in the history. So, for example, let's say the same file is modified and one single file is a developer makes a change and a senior developer says, hey, you should not make this change because this algorithm is too complex or we want to work in a different file or a different service for that.
Mhm.
So Giga should be able to remember all these historical changes and also ensure that these mistakes are not repeated in the future.
Okay, so like it pulls kind of like commit messages
Yeah,
and contextualizes that and like maybe summarizes
yeah,
conventions like you're saying.
yeah.
Uh, okay.
From outside the current state of the code base, understands that based on the historical state of the GitHub repository, and to go even one step further, maybe even integrates and understands from the ticketing system like Linear or Notion and understands the ideology and best engineering practices from there and ensures that the AI is following them.
That would be dope. What would be a 7-star experience?
Hmm. I'm trying to think where we see the biggest issues with AI. And I think one of them is when we seriously ask the AI to do very complex tasks, like you mentioned about the Stripe webhook integration, or maybe there's something about like when I ask it to modify a lot of tables and work in many different files and change my database and integrate with third-party services and third-party modules. And at
Mhm,
that point, basically every time I do that, the AI makes mistakes. So a
mhm.
7-star experience would be that it actually understands all of your third-party modules and packages. It understands your database schema. It understands any third-party integrations you have, let's say payment integrations or notification services or analytics, and has a full and complete idea of the pattern of those along with the patterns you use for those. And whenever it's writing new code, it's respecting all of that before taking the next step.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
And what is the hero feature? Like if you're
Uh,
gonna just say, bro, this is what it does.
can you give some examples
Yeah,
from
like
other?
for example, like when the iPhone came out, or like the
Yeah.
iPod, right? 1,000 songs in your pocket.
AI that works exactly like you want, or AI that learns from your engineering practices, or AI that works in your organization style. I don't know how good way to phrase it, but does that make sense?
It does
How
make
can
sense, but it is too broad.
it just too broad? Hmm.
Yeah, it's like get more specific.
I'll need some help and advice on that, or maybe some more examples.
So the reason why I'll stick to the iPod example, 1,000 songs in your pocket at that time was impossible by any other
Mm-hmm.
product, by any
Mm-hmm.
other competing product, because it,
Mm-hmm.
it it is so specific. It is like the writing of it is great, right? So don't think about the writing, but what is something that you specifically can do that nobody else can? Nobody can claim it but you.
I think it'll have to be around your organization's best engineering practices followed forever. And people are not wasting time reviewing the AI generated code, and they're not wasting time in the pull request and pull review cycles because the code itself is perfect in one go. So, new code, perfect, exactly like your organization wants it.
I think that's it. I think it's like if you're gonna make a cute copy, right? It'll be like generate code in your
Mhm.
organization's voice or
Yeah,
style or
yeah,
conventions. I think
yeah.
conventions is the best one
Uh-huh.
because that's the word engineers use, right?
Hmm.
Generate code using
Hmm.
your unique conventions.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Because that is a totally different value proposition, right? Because
Hmm.
with AI code generation,
Hmm.
you're kind of this is how Claude would write it, or this is
Yeah.
how AI would write it, or whatever. But this is like, nah, this is how Google would write it. This is how Microsoft would write it, and how we know is from pulling from your GitHub commits and all of that. Kind of moving more out of the business and into Namanyay, right?
Uh-huh.
Imagine 100x you. Who is that person? What is he doing differently?
Okay, so I think I feel confident about my technical and coding abilities, but where I feel that I need to do a lot more is first being connected to a lot of other programmers, and because everyone has their own programmers and software organizations. And second, really understanding their workflows, their trends, their problems, and their style of working. That right now I know for a fact that I do not know how does engineering in a Series B company or Series C company works. Like, how does a 20-person engineering team even work? How do they plan things? How do they execute them? How do they test them? I do not have good knowledge of that. So that is something that is definitely my next step and that I need to learn. I don't know if that makes it 100x, but yeah, learning. I know how to do good engineering myself, but learning how the world does good engineering, having a good grasp on that, that is what will make me 100x.
I like so like the 100XU is a guy who's embedded in all these
Yeah.
companies, talking
Yes.
to the senior engineers. How do you do this? How do you do that? What do you? And he's like, he's just
Yeah.
grilling people all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're in the place to do it, bro. Like you're in the place to talk to these
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just open with that in every event. Be like, oh, how many people do you manage?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
like just start grilling them. Trust me, those people wanna talk to you about that. Like, they have
Like,
nothing else to talk about, you know?
yeah. Makes sense.
Find the nerd in the corner and be like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
All right. Describe the most genius
The most genius what?
artist.
And like, okay, all right. I think what I define as genius is the ability to see a different vision or a different idea that other people are not even accepting, and let alone accept, they would actually laugh at you for even having that idea. So one of the classic examples is Einstein, who, when he had the idea of theory of relativity, people were like, no, that cannot be a thing, like time is constant. Another example is Nikola Tesla. He had so many ideas around electricity, electric wireless transmission, that people just considered him absolutely crazy. And but a lot of his ideas power the world now. In artistic fields, an example would be Daft Punk, who
Mhm,
have a completely different approach to music than any other rock star would. Like they
mhm,
completely changed what you even make music out of. Another historical example of an artist or engineer would be Da Vinci, who was such a prolific. He had multiple skill sets. Like he was a good artist. He was good at uh, in creating new inventions, then drawing them out and planning them, and then explaining them to other people.
And how do you draw from that? Like what a
The main thing that I draw from that is first, having confidence in your unique personal vision, even if other people are disagreeing or ridiculing you, even, you need to have some confidence in your unique vision. Because if you keep working towards your personal unique vision, at one point or the other, the entire world will agree with you and work with you. So that is one of the biggest things that I draw. The second thing that I draw is just having a vision is not enough. You need to be working consistently and working hard to make it resonate, make it better. Because when they're starting out, they're simply like not they can't be a genius in the first day. They have to keep working hard again and again every day. And then maybe over time they can be recognized as a genius.
I love it. You can't be a genius in the first day. It's
Yeah.
hilarious and so true. Uh, okay, have you seen the old movie Spartacus?
Oh no, I haven't actually. No.
Okay, so there's Spartacus was a slave. He was a
Mhm.
gladiator,
Uh-huh.
and he freed all the gladiators and raised an army against the Romans. And in the
Wow.
movie, they lost this battle against the Romans, and the Roman leader says, reveal to me who is Spartacus, and I will spare your lives. So
Uh-huh.
Spartacus goes and wants to reveal himself to save
Uh-huh.
his friends, right? But
Uh-huh.
then one of his friends like pushes him back and says, "I am Spartacus," and then
Uh-huh.
another soldier comes and says, "I am Spartacus," and
Uh-huh.
everybody's like, "I am Spartacus," and like the whole army is Spartacus,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? So what is that
Amazing.
moment for you? Like, what is that value system or belief that people are gonna say like I am the money, like they're willing to sacrifice all that value or vision?
Okay, okay, that's a difficult question. I think you need to give me one more example with that. Yeah, or a little bit more elaboration with that.
I'll elaborate more. So
Yeah.
imagine there's one thing in the world that someone is gonna just remove from the world. They're just gonna take it. That is so that you're so passionate about that you're willing to fight for it. You're gonna be like, no, you can't take this away from the world. Like for Spartacus, it was freedom, right?
Hmm.
What is it for you and the army of Namanyes?
Okay, what I definitely believe very strongly is in some sense that is yeah, the freedom to have and work on your idea in the own way. Like I see, especially in the Indian system, any creativity or anything outside of the standard education system, that is just killed off and suppressed. Like if any Indian student is trying to even say, "Hey, I do not want to be an engineer or a doctor,"
Mhm,
the parents are like, "Shut up! You will be an engineer or you will be a doctor."
mhm,
That stifling of creativity and that stifling of suppressing someone's curiosity and passion is what I disagree with very strongly. So I myself took the path following my creativity and passion, and I want others to have that choice as well. And even if someone says, "Hey, if you follow your creativity, you won't be successful or you won't be rich," I think the person is more rich, he is richer, he is better if they are following their passion and following their curiosity and creativity.
I love that a lot. Who are the icons of this movement? Like, do you have any examples, like people that you look up to that have done that?
I think I resonated a lot with all the dropout founders, the classic examples being like Mark and Bill. Even though after I grew up, I realized that, they were already in a very privileged position,
Mhm,
but still, they had the audacity to let go of all the good things they had with their school or their education path, and they really said, "Hey, I'm gonna drop out and just do my own thing." Steve
mhm,
Jobs, he's gonna drop out. He's gonna do it. And Steve Jobs is even better because yeah, he was never a good student at all, but he seriously said, "No, I'm not gonna agree with all of that college and job and all that
mhm,
bullshit. I am gonna work on my own idea, my vision."
mhm. Yeah, Michael Dell has a really cool story like that. If you're interested, like check
Uh-huh.
out whatever David Sandler's podcast about him.
Okay.
He, yeah, Michael Dell has a very because his dad wanted him to be a doctor because all his family were doctors.
Oh wow, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah,
and he was like building computers, and his dad was like, what is this stupid computer bullshit?
I
You know,
see.
yeah. Phil
That
Knight
would-
too. Phil Knight, his dad, like, what are you
Yeah.
doing with these shoes? you know. Uh, all right. So Batman, going to Batman. Batman has the bat signal, right? When the bat signal is out, there's crime, and Batman shows up to save the day. What is the bat signal for your personal brand?
I think it'll be a mix between. Uh, I think it'll be a mix of confusion and also bullshit, and in the sense that let's say a new person is trying to learn engineering or trying to learn programming or trying to follow their startup curiosity. Uh,
Mhm,
and you'll just see so many people like trying to sell them courses or say, "Hey, you need to do exactly this, that, and that,
mhm,
and then you'll become this, and buy my course, buy my book, see my
mhm,
videos." So that sense of confusion and bullshitting to
mhm,
scare or constrain a new person or a new student who's trying to learn something, be it startup or programming,
mhm,
that is something I feel very strongly against. And one of the reasons or one of the ways I solve it is by having my blog where I just openly share what I'm doing, and also the Build in Public movement that I participate in and share just my knowledge and share what I'm doing freely. Because, yeah, so my bad signal is those bullshitting people who, for their own profit, they're trying to confuse others and sell them things that they don't really need.
love that. If you packaged all of that up, like everything Namanyay stands for, and put it in a logo, and put that logo on a hat, why would anyone want to wear a hat with that logo on?
Oh, wow, amazing. That's a fun question.
Mhm,
I think I want to uh, represent following freedom and creativity and your own choices in some way. And now, how to make a logo out of that? Maybe it can be uh, your something like the enlightened mind or your enlightened brain logo, where you're seeing waves of energy and freedom and creativity coming out from a human brain or a human mind. Maybe that's the angle I'll explore.
I like it. And just because you made it visual for me, what came to me is also like, imagine, how the brain has like, little lines on it and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like a thumbprint, like every and you
Uh-huh.
kind of overlay those two designs, and it's like every brain is different and unique. You know?
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Describe your brain, that whole thing in 6 words.
Chase curiosities, work hard, and never give up. Okay, that's a little bit longer
I
than
like
six words.
it. I
Yeah.
like it. I'll give you a pass. Chase
Okay.
curiosity. Okay. Chase curiosities. What was the
Work
second one?
hard
Work hard.
and never give up.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, that was 7 words.
Okay. All right.
I like it a lot though. Okay. Final question before you get on your next call.
Mhm.
Imagine your life at peak impact.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
want you to draw that impact.
Okay. All right. So peak and back. Humans around the world are feeling free to make their own choices, follow their creative passions, and choose their individual happiness,
Hmm.
enjoy their differences, and be happy with people that are different around them.
Love it. Hell yeah. 10 out of 10, bro. That's it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
This was really fun.